Professional sports look glamorous from the outside, the roaring crowds, the massive contracts, the fame, the glory. But behind all of that, there is a side that most people never see, a side filled with corruption, abuse, exploitation, and broken lives. Today, we are pulling back the curtain and talking about the dark side of professional sports. The money game. Who really gets rich? When we talk about professional sports, the first thing that comes to mind is the enormous money involved. Star players sign deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and league owners rake in billions. But the reality for most athletes is very different. The average career of a professional athlete is surprisingly short, around 3 to 5 years in most major sports. Many players enter the league with little financial education, surrounded by agents and advisors who do not always have their best interests at heart. Studies have shown that a significant percentage of NFL and NBA players face serious financial difficulties within just a few years of retirement. The money flows in fast and goes out even faster. Meanwhile, the franchise owners and league executives continue to grow wealthier year after year, often on the backs of athletes whose bodies and health are permanently damaged by the game. The business of sports is incredibly profitable, but the wealth is not shared as fairly as the highlight reels might suggest. The injury cover-up culture. Injuries are part of every sport. But what many people do not know is how often injuries are hidden, downplayed, or ignored entirely in professional sports. Teams have a financial interest in keeping their star players on the field, and that pressure often overrides what is actually best for the player's health. Athletes are regularly pushed to play through serious pain with painkillers and injections that only mask the damage being done. The long-term consequences can be devastating: chronic pain, joint degeneration, neurological issues, and in many cases, permanent disability. The rise of CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, in retired NFL players has brought some of this into the spotlight, but the problem is far wider than just football. Across sports, athletes are treated as assets to be used, not human beings to be protected. Coaches, team doctors, and management often prioritize the next game over the long-term well-being of the person in the jersey. Doping and the pressure to cheat. Performance-enhancing drugs have been part of professional sports for decades. We hear about the big scandals: Lance Armstrong, the Russian doping program, cycling's deep EPO culture, but doping is far more widespread than what makes headlines. The pressure to perform at superhuman levels creates an environment where many feel they have no choice. When competing for millions of dollars and watching others gain unfair advantages, the temptation is enormous. Anti-doping agencies do their best, but new substances are developed faster than detection methods can catch up. In many cases, the people running doping programs are not rogue individuals. They are coaches, doctors, and even national federations actively encouraging athletes to cheat. The message sent to young athletes is clear and troubling: results matter more than integrity. Exploitation of young athletes. Every year, thousands of young boys and girls pour their hearts into dreams of professional sports stardom. Sports academies and clubs recruit children as young as 6 or 7 years old, promising pathways to glory. But for the vast majority, this path leads nowhere good. Young athletes are often removed from normal education, social development, and childhood experiences in pursuit of a career that statistically will never materialize. Many are exploited by agents and scouts who profit from their talent without any real accountability. In countries where football and cricket academies operate with little regulation, child athletes can be taken far from home, subjected to grueling training regimes, and discarded without any support when they do not make the grade. Even in wealthier countries, the youth sports pipeline is not as clean as it appears. Burnout, depression, eating disorders, and identity crises are common among young athletes who have been pushed too hard, too soon, and then left with nothing when the dream does not pan out. Match fixing and organized crime. Match fixing is one of the most serious and underreported problems in professional sports. It is not just a third world issue, it exists in European football, cricket, tennis, basketball, and beyond. Criminal organizations invest heavily in corrupting referees, players and officials to control match outcomes for gambling profits. The scale is staggering. Interpol has investigated thousands of suspicious matches over the past decade. In many cases, low-paid players from smaller leagues are easy targets, offered cash that exceeds their entire season salary in exchange for deliberate mistakes at key moments. Some players do not even realize how deep into criminal networks they have fallen until it is too late. While governing bodies like FIFA and the IC have match-fixing task forces, corruption often runs deeper than surface investigations can reach. The very thing that makes sports worth watching, fair competition, is quietly being sold to the highest bidder. Mental health, the silent battle. For a long time, mental health in professional sports was simply not talked about. Athletes were expected to be tough, resilient, and emotionally bulletproof. Any sign of struggle was seen as weakness. But stories from athletes like Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles have started cracking open this uncomfortable truth. The pressure on professional athletes is extreme. Public scrutiny, social media abuse, performance expectations, travel schedules, and a constant fear of injury take a massive psychological toll. Many suffer in silence for years, self-medicating with alcohol or drugs before anyone notices. Retirement, often forced early by injury, can trigger identity crises so severe they lead to depression and, in tragic cases, suicide. The sports industry has been slow to take mental health seriously, and while things are changing, the culture of toughness that discourages vulnerability still runs deep in locker rooms across the world. Racism and inequality inside the game. Professional sports often sell an image of meritocracy, the best player wins, regardless of background, but look more closely and a very different picture emerges. In many major leagues, black and minority athletes make up the majority of players, while ownership, coaching, and front office positions remain overwhelmingly white. The racial wealth gap inside sports is striking. Black athletes are celebrated on the field but underrepresented in leadership positions. When they speak out on social or political issues, they are frequently told to stay in their lane. The Colin Kaepernick situation in the NFL is one of the most well-known examples. A player who exercised his constitutional right to protest was effectively blacklisted from the league. Racism is not just a problem at the player level either. Fan abuse of black, Asian, and minority athletes is a persistent issue in football stadiums and sporting arenas worldwide, and governing bodies have repeatedly failed to take meaningful action. Sports have the power to bring people together, but they also mirror and amplify the inequalities of the societies they exist within. Professional sports are not just entertainment. They are a billion-dollar industry that touches millions of lives, athletes, families, communities, and fans around the world. The moments of brilliance, the records, the championships, all of that is real, but so is the darkness that lives alongside it. The exploitation, the corruption, the silenced voices, the broken bodies. If we truly love sports, we have to be willing to look at all of it, not just the highlights, because only when we acknowledge the problems can we actually demand better. If this video made you think about sports differently, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more content that digs deeper than the surface, hit subscribe. We are just getting started.